International Women's Day! Yes! Mother Nature is a sister! Look at this weather! My name is Angelica Santamaro, and I am the director of the American Labor Museum, and I warmly welcome you here today on behalf of our Board of Trustees, staff, and volunteers. Thank you so much for coming. Today we join our sisters throughout the world to march with dignity and pride, celebrating all of our accomplishments and collective power to bring about positive change in women's lives. 100 years ago, sisters and brothers, women also marched, but they paid a dear price. They were beaten, they were imprisoned, abandoned by their spouses, snubbed by their opponents, and not taken seriously. But their struggles and sacrifices paid off because 100 years ago, the 19th Amendment to the Constitution of the United States was passed and women won the right to vote! Today we rise up in gratitude to recognize those sisters on whose shoulders we all stand. So together, I'd like you to repeat after me. Power to the sisters, for our gender makes us strong. Power to the sisters, for our gender makes us strong. One more time. Power to the sisters, for our gender makes us strong. Thank you so much. Where are my volunteers? Come on up. Yeah! They wanted to make a grand entrance. We have our staff members here today who I'd like to thank, who just went inside, Evelyn Hershey, and Robert Ledley is probably answering phones. Our volunteers, Pat Niven, Joe LaFalce, Walter Genuario, Sophia Santamaro, Alice Carrero, Trixie Goodall, and of course our trustees. And we have Mike Goodwin, our president. Arnie Cohen, our secretary. Ann Toomey, our trustee. And Tom Kelly, another wonderful trustee from IBEW and HPAE. Thank you. We also have some organizations here that I wanted to recognize, and if I'm not saying your organization, I apologize. It's because it wasn't on the registry, but thank you for coming anyway. We have From the Heart Communications. We have Bob's Brigade, the New Jersey State Industrial Union Council, the IBEW Women's Group, Eta Omicron Zeta Sorority, Passaic County and Bergen County Education Association, proud member of the NJEA, HPAE Jersey Shore Medical Center, IFPTE Local 194 Hudson County CLC, and the Northern New Jersey IWW, which was the union that was here in 1913 with the strikers. So that's pretty cool. So my sisters and brothers, Evelyn, this was not on the agenda, and Evelyn suggested maybe we should say the Pledge of Allegiance, but I thought, wouldn't it be cool, instead of saying one nation under God, if we say one nation under Goddess? Yes! Are you ready? Yes! There's the flag. Ready? Begin. I want to hear it. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God. Indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I thought I was going to forget the rest of it. So sisters and brothers, let's put our hands together and welcome Haledon's First Lady, Amy Stampone.
It's my pleasure to welcome you all to Haledon. We're very proud to be home of the American Labor Museum. For more than 100 years ago, the labor movement was a force in American history. We're very honored to host this International Women's Day event on the Centennial of the right for the vote for women. As a mother of 3 and a preschool teacher and an NJEA member, I understand the value of educating our youth on the importance of all human rights, because women's rights are human rights.
That's right. Come on.
I make sure that my children and my students know that everyone is the same, but everyone is different, and to celebrate those differences. At home, I encourage my children to speak out and make their voices heard when they see injustice, and that's why a woman's right to vote was such an important victory. I'm personally thrilled today that I'm not only celebrating women's suffrage, but I'm also celebrating my daughter. It's her 18th birthday.
There you go.
When I asked her what she was most excited about in turning 18, I honestly thought she was going to say playing the lottery. But she actually said being able to vote.
Yeah!
That's my girl. Thank you all so much for coming. I hope you enjoy the rest of the event.
Yeah!
Good job.
I also want to recognize those who wore white. I know so many of my friends called me and said, white? I don't have winter white. I said, let's put on summer white. But so I thank a lot of you for wearing your white today. Thank you so much. Our next speaker is our American Labor Museum's Education Director, Evelyn Hershey.
I'm actually Maria Mazziotta Gillen's voice today. She could not be with us.
Because of the video.
Sorry about that. Maria Gillen is a poet, and she is the director of the Passaic County Cultural and Heritage Council, which has awarded us grants for the 2 exhibits that are upstairs. So I invite you after our march to take a walk upstairs to look at Women Who Dare to Inspire is the title of the one exhibit, and A Union Made Fashioning America in the 20th Century. So these are Maria Mazziotti Gillen's words in her poem, Public School Number 18, Paterson, New Jersey. Miss Wilson's eyes, opaque as blue glass, fix on me. We must speak English. We're in America now. I want to say I am American, but the evidence is stacked against me. My mother scrubs my scalp raw, wraps my shining hair in white rags to make it curl. Miss Wilson drags me to the window, checks my hair for lice. My face wants to hide. At home, my words smooth in my mouth. I chatter and am proud. In school, I am silent, grope for the right English words. Fear the Italian word will sprout from my mouth like a rose. Fear the progression of teachers in their sprigged dresses, their Anglo-Saxon faces. Without words, they tell me to be ashamed. I am. I deny that booted country even from myself, want to be still and untouchable as these women who teach me to hate myself. Years later, in a white Kansas City house, the psychology professor tells me I remind him of the mafia leader on the cover of Time magazine. My anger spits, venomous from my mouth. I am proud of my mother, dressed all in black. Proud of my father, with his broken tongue. Proud of the laughter and the noise of our house. Remember me, ladies, the silent one? I have found my voice, and my rage will blow your house down.
Speaking of strong women, the Passaic County Freeholder Director, Sandy Lazare!
Thank you for this opportunity to be here this afternoon. talk to you about International Women's Day. You know, as a former teacher of 25 years, a big shout out to my union, 200,000 strong, the NJ Union. For all the unions that are here today, we work together to make sure that things happen. I always, as a teacher, had to have a backup. Like, I'm going to talk about something I want you to understand. International Women's Day was established and proclaimed by the United Nations in 1975, every March 8th, that we celebrate Women's International Day. But it goes back to the beginning of the century. It was just observed by the United Nations in 1975. And as I stand here before you, and if we think about the theme this year for International Women's Day, the theme is I am Generation Equality, realizing women's work. And I have to tell you personally, when I walk out into any group, and I guess it's the way I was raised or the way I think, I've never felt that I was in competition with men. I felt that I, as a woman, had to support other women, lift them up, because we know the best women straighten the crowns of other women without saying anything. We know that. So, starting out, I'm a Passaic County resident, been here all my life. My grandmother came here, worked in a jute mill on Ellison Street in Patterson. If you don't know what jute is a fiber similar to burlap. It was used to make rugs and twine and ropes. And I can't even think that she would not have been here in 1913, that's correct here, right? When we had the rally. Because my grandmother was a very strong woman. And she came here to fight for the rights of the silk workers and the jute mill workers and any other factory workers who needed to have the union behind them. Unfortunately, they had to go back to work in July of the same year because they needed to have money. But on that day, Angelica, and I think you know this, there was a woman's suffrage. Her name was Elizabeth Gurley Flynn. At the age of 23, she stood up on this balcony and spoke to the thousands of workers that were lined up out here in the middle of the cold weather fighting for their rights. 23 years old. She landed in prison for a couple of years. She was the founder of the ACLU. And she worked vigorously her entire life for the rights of women. When I think of International Women's Day this year, I think of the 100th anniversary of women's suffrage. Because without that, and without the right to vote, we would not be standing here as we are today. Their vote was hampered because there was an election in 1908, and they didn't want women voting. So they wouldn't let them. So as I stand here before you today, and I think about why does International Women's Day matter? Why does the suffrage movement matter? It's because, in my opinion, to recognize, remember, and communicate the social evolution that has taken place because of the fortitude, the courage, and the resilience of those women who came before us. So, the onus for fostering gender equality, moving forward, and empowering the future of our women depends on the generations today. So I ask you to make sure that when you go out, you stand strong, you don't be intimidated, and you stand up for the rights of women everywhere. Thank you.
I'm so sorry, I forgot to recognize Isabella, the birthday girl's daddy, who happens to be on our Board of Trustees, and he also happens to be the mayor of Haledon, Dominic Stampone. I am so sorry, you're right in front of us. Our next speaker is the Coalition of Labor Union Women, New Jersey President, Darlene Smith.
Out here today. I also represent Union of Rutgers Administrators and AFT, so I see some of my people out there. And I'm very proud to be able to speak here today. This is my first time here, but not my last. I've actually heard about the Bada House in my history, my labor history class also, and through different union interactions. But I just wanted to let you know what you're here for today is what Coalition of Labor Union Women is about. We were started in, actually was formed in 1974, but our primary purpose is to unify all union women in a strong organization determined and to seek remedies to our common problems and concerns. Our objectives, we have 4 core objectives, which are to empower women for greater participation at all levels of the labor movement, to organize the unorganized, to promote affirmative action, social and economic justice in the workplace, and to increase the participation of women in the political and legislative processes. And I know that I have worked throughout the years in the union and doing labor walks and everything like that. So I know here in New Jersey, we know how to do this, and we've done it very well. And the people, the sacrifices of those who came before us and who have actually been here have made it possible for us to live a better life. And I thank those women who put themselves on the line to make this all happen. I also want to let you know that the Coalition of Labor Union Women, right now we have a chapter, Central Jersey chapter, but I am looking to have a chapter up here in North Jersey and South Jersey and bring us all together so we can continue this fight together, just like the women in the labor unions and the movement intended. And I want to, just proud of our ancestors that came before us to provide this for us. Thank you.
And one of our sponsors, the Northern New Jersey Now President, Diane Scarangella.
Vertically challenged. Hi, everybody. Hello. I'm going to read a little bit. I hope you don't mind. If particular care and attention is not paid to the ladies, we are determined to foment a rebellion and will not hold ourselves bound by any laws in which we have no voice or representation. Abigail Adams, March 31st, 1776. So we started struggling for equal rights way back before this country had even been founded. 124 years it took from that statement to get the 19th Amendment approved. And at that point in time, Abigail's descendants actually were able to vote. But this amendment didn't result in what Elizabeth Cady Stanton or Susan B. Anthony, who were both New Jersey residents, it did not result in the total equality that they had hoped that they would have achieved. For instance, in 1876, in her Declaration of Rights, Susan B. Anthony and Matilda Gage stated, "The fact of sex, not the quantity or quality of work, in most cases decides pay and position." They continued, "Laws catering to man's vices have created 2 codes. Police officers seizing the occupants of disreputable houses march women in platoons to prison, while the men, partners in their guilt, go free." These statements were made 144 years ago, and we are still arguing about them today. We still see them occurring in our legislation and the need to have our representatives like Senator Weinberg put out an Equal Pay Act and make that work. We still see the need to do this. Right? The Equal Rights Amendment was actually written 2 years after the 19th Amendment was first put in place. Some of you shake your head so you know this. Sorry if I'm repeating. 1923, Susan B. Anthony wrote the Lucretia Mott Amendment. It said, "Men and women shall have equal rights throughout the U.S. and every place subject to its jurisdiction." What you may not, if this amendment had passed in this wording, it would have been the first time that the word woman or female was actually included in the Constitution. What most people don't realize is that the 19th Amendment did not in its text include the word women, and nowhere in the entire Constitution does the word women exist. Okay, so the ERA has been introduced in Congress for the last 51 years in one form or another. It was rewritten in 1943 to be the Equal Rights Amendment, which is the wording that we have right now. And if there's a flyer inside, if you want to see it, it did take the word women out, unfortunately. It reads, Equality of rights under the law shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or any state on account of sex. So again, war woman's still not there, but at least we have something that has been actually voted in. It was voted in March in 1972, but the Congress placed an arbitrary deadline on the acceptance of it. So we had, actually New Jersey was one of the first states to sign the amendment, to approve the amendment at the state level, within 1 month after the 1972 vote in Congress. So we're good. New Jersey actually is a forerunner, right? So, it has required, as many of you may know, it required 38 states to pass. We did not get the 38 states by the arbitrary deadline that was set. We did, in fact, get the 36th state, which was Nevada, 40 years after the 35th state signed.
Good.
All right, but then rapidly, a year later, we got Illinois in May 2018, and as of January 15th, 2020, Virginia became the 38th state to approve the ERA. But we are unfortunately not done yet. Okay? Where it is today is as follows. The deadline set by Congress has passed. It's gone. It was 1982. The Department of Justice now refuses to move the ERA forward. 5 states, this is the bad news first, okay, so it gets better. 5 states have joined together to stop the ERA. Okay, now here's the good news, though. The good news is that the last 3 states to ratify have filed a lawsuit that requires immediate adoption of the ERA. Then actually 20 states also, attorney generals from 20 states, including New Jersey, also sent a letter urging them to formally adopt. A resolution passed in the House to eliminate the deadline, which would enable us to then move it forward. But what's happening now is going to be a really big fight for us because it's in the Senate, and you know the Senate is not going to necessarily vote wholeheartedly to pass a resolution to adopt the ERA. So it is in the Senate. It's called SJ6, and that is what's pending there. The other thing that you might be interested to know is that 20 states have actually amended their state constitution to include an ERA statement in their constitution. Unfortunately, New Jersey is not one of them. So we do not have an ERA in our state constitution at this point. So, what can you do? I'm not putting you on the spot, swear to God.
Nellie and I will take care of
I'm hoping you will. I was hoping that. Okay, so tell your Senate, what can you do? Tell your senators to urge their Republican colleagues to vote to pass SJ6. Get letter writing, do calling, urge them to talk to their colleagues because our senators are wonderful, most of them. But, I'm sorry, but and they will vote for this, but a lot of the Republican senators will not. So urge them to urge their colleagues. And the other thing is to work with people like Melanie Pugh and Loretta Weinberg to get our state to pass the ERA. That's the other thing we can do. Susan B. Anthony stated, again, 1876, now at the close of 100 years, and that fits today, we declare our faith in the principles of self-government and our full equality with man in natural rights. That woman was made first for her own happiness, with the absolute right to herself, to all the opportunities and advantages that life affords. What do we ask? Anthony answers, we ask justice, we ask equality, we ask that all the civil and political rights that belong to citizens of the United States be guaranteed to us and our daughters forever. Hashtag ERA now, not one more generation. She didn't say that, I just added that in. Because if particular care attention is not paid to the ladies, we are determined to foment a rebellion. Thank you.
And someone who definitely is going to be helping us, and we know has helped us traditionally for years and is always there for us, our New Jersey State Senator of the 35th District, Nellie Poe.
Thank you, and
Angelica. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, let me just thank the American Labor Museum for inviting all of us, but inviting me here for such an important celebration, not only for me, but for all the women across the globe. It's an honor to be here today with all of you, surrounded by so many New Jersey women to celebrate International Women's Day. This march is a beautiful testament to the progress that we have made and a reminder of progress that we must continue to push for the future in America and around the world. International Day is a focal point of the women's rights movement every year. It's a day for all women to come together, see the humanity in one another, support one another, and work collectively to elevate one another. This day represents the long and continuous fight for women to gain gender equality. And while some places around the world have come remarkably far, we must continue to reach out and work together to lessen the gender disparities on the global scale. You know, women need and deserve representation in all facets of life, and politics should be at the heart of any discussion of women's equality. A century ago, the thought of any woman in holding public office would be laughable. Let alone for some of us, especially myself as a Latina, it was unheard of. Let me just say that I am so proud to say that I am one of, Loretta reminded me, I'm one of 1/3 of the women legislators in today's New Jersey legislature. So when you think, in the Senate. So, but keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, I think we need to certainly understand that that number is certainly not enough. One of the things that I remember when I first came into the legislature, Loretta, we were both in the assembly, and I like always talking about this story because Loretta was already someone that was reckoned with, someone who was really very known in the assembly. Certainly, you can't imagine why that is, right? Because her voice is always very loud and clear. But I remember my first day in the assembly chambers at the time, and Loretta was saying some beautiful, nice words about my joining the legislature. But her one comment at the time, she said, there were 8 of us at the time. She goes, 8 is not enough. And certainly today, I know that our numbers have gotten larger, but it's certainly not enough. And it would certainly, it's important for me to make sure that we talk about the progress that we've made. And I am encouraged by the progress that we have made, currently making, certainly with the Me Too movement and the election of the most diverse women, a group of women in today's U.S. Congress in history. If you go back and look at 2018's numbers, I have the highest hope for what we are going to accomplish in the future. There are a number of women around, some of who are here today, hundreds of. There are women all over our state and our country. There are a number of women who are councilwomen, assemblywomen, female mayors, freeholders, senators, along with 1,000 organizers, advocates, and volunteers, and each and every one of them represent the progress that we're making in New Jersey. Let me just say that we live in a time where young girls today, our beautiful young girls today, are able to realistically dream about being anything that they want. They can be a scientist, they can be the CEO of a corporate, of holding a position in office. Heck, ladies and gentlemen.
They can be president.
Well, I was just going to wait. Loretta just took the words out of my mouth. I was just going to say, heck, even a woman even won the popular vote for the President of the United States. Let's not forget that we certainly got that far. And yes, Loretta, the next president of the United States definitely needs to be and can be a woman. And while we are here marching to celebrate the International Women's Day, let me just say, I want to give tribute to all the women before us that laid out the work for us. Let us make sure that their work does not go in vain. We're talking about the celebration of the 100th year. We're talking about the celebration of the ability to vote. Let us make sure that we make a mark now in this November. This November cannot be any more important to every one of us. Let us make our sisters proud and let them hear us. Those all 100 years ago that came before us. Thank you and God bless.
Are you all ready for this one? This is, this is gonna blow your mind. I'm gonna make a phone call right now. I'm gonna make a phone call to a woman by the name of Juliette Bernstein, who is the aunt of one of our trustees, Arnie Cohen, and his wife Sharon. Louder. Okay, you hear me now? Yeah. Are you ready for this next one? Yeah. We're gonna call a woman who's in Massachusetts. Her name is Juliette Bernstein. She is the aunt of Arnie and Sharon Cohen, and of that beautiful, beautiful baby in Sharon's arms, who is, I guess, she's the grand aunt, I don't know. What is her title? Oh, cousin, okay. And she is, are you ready for this title? The daughter of one of America's first time voters, 106-year young Juliette Bernstein. Hello, Juliette, you're on speaker now. You can speak to all of these beautiful people.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Angelica. Greetings from Chatham, Massachusetts, to Howard, New Jersey. I'm glad to hear that. I am Juliette Bernstein, retired teacher from New York City. I was born in New York State on a farm which was a boarding house too. It was 100 miles from New York City. It was known as the Borscht Belt. I remember very clearly when my mother voted for the very first time. It left quite an impression on me. I was only 7, born on July 2nd, 1913. We all went to the polls at Montgomery Valley, 5 miles from home. In the two-horse Surrey with a fringe on top. My parents and my siblings. My older sister was almost 10. My younger sister was not quite 5. My baby brother, who was 6 months old only. My parents both voted for Eugene V. Doug. Very clearly, that's all I can remember. I am still a union member. I had been active in the Teachers Union, which became the United Federation of Teachers Local 2. I receive a pension as well as Social Security because of that. That's one of the few states that has that. I'm glad you are celebrating 100 years of women's suffrage. In Chatham, we have a July 4th parade with a theme each year. This year, the theme is Chatham Celebrates Women to honor the 100th year anniversary. It was suggested by me. I am no longer an activist. All I can do is write letters because I am much too old and I'm not really able to do the things I had done. but I'm thinking about you, and I think it's great that you have that wonderful anniversary every year. Okay. Thank you very much for letting me be cheers.
Thank you again, Juliet. We love you.
New Jersey there. My cousins.
They are here with your 10-month-old cousin.
Yes, I know. I can listen on. Can you leave it so I can hear the rest, or is that the end?
No, it's not the end. We have one more person, and you're on for a very, very special person. She is the Senate.
Well, to Julia, if you're still listening, you are still an activist. Right. So I don't think we've left you off the hook. First of all, I brought this along because it shows how far back I go. This is probably circa 1968, I figured. There's my daughter, who now has 2 teenage children of her own. And when I had the photograph restored and sent to her, she said to me, "Why was I the one wearing the sign?" At which point I told her, "That's why you have children." So they grew up never eating a grape or a head of lettuce in their entire lives. So it is really, it's energizing for me to be here. And the president of NOW quoted Abigail Adams about fomenting a rebellion, which made me think of Ann Toomey, who's standing back there, who decided one day when she was a practicing nurse that she was not going to wear one of those silly caps. And you know what? That led to the founding of the Health Professional and Allied Employees. We have a lot of people around here who have already fomented their own revolutions over the years. And there's one more story I would like to share with you. You know, the state that ratified the amendment to allow women to vote was the state of Tennessee. And there was a young assemblyman who would have made the vote yes or no. And it was determined by the leaders of the Tennessee Assembly that he was going to vote no. He was not going to vote for ratification. And he stood up and he read a letter from his mother, which said, "Be a good boy." That's exactly what the letter said. "I want you to help Mrs. Cat put the rat in ratification." And he said, "And therefore I vote yes." Yes! So you see, young ladies, it was a mother from Tennessee who reminded her son to behave himself, which allowed women the right to vote. So it's one of my favorite stories from, you know, I don't actually know the veracity, but it's a great story, and I think it's true. So thank you, Angelica, and thank you for all the women leaders. Thank you. I was also thinking, Nellie, we're going to have to pass a resolution that at least on International Women's Day, the pledge will be changed to under Goddess instead of under Goddess. So Nellie and I have a lot of work to do when we get back to the Senate next week. So Angelica, thank you to the Botto House. Thank you to the spirit of the 15,000 labor people who were gathered out here in 1913 to organize against the Patterson silk mills. Thank you to their spirits that surround us. Thank you to all of you, both men and women, and to the First Lady of Patterson for helping us. Oh, I'm sorry. To the First Lady of Hailton. I come from Bergen County. It's still a little confusing to me. So to the First Lady of Hailton, thank you for being here. And thank you for being up here while your husband's in the audience. Yes.
May I speak to her?
Yes, yes.
You are speaking to me,
Is this
Julia.
Loretta?
Yes, it is.
Well, you know that story about Tennessee is correct.
Well, good. If you verified it, then we know it's correct.
Well, I know I've read about it any number of times, and I want to tell you that we celebrated women here many times in Chatham. In Chatham, we had no women in our board of selectmen, and we finally voted for one, and we had no women in our band. We finally had one.
Well, why don't you run for office, Julia?
Well, people hated my guts.
If you do, I promise we'll all come up and ring doorbells for you.
Anyway, I think that's great. I'm glad you're doing something there.
Thank you, and thank you for all your work, and thank you, everybody, and to our young girls here. Someday you're going to see a woman president. Thank you, one and all. Yes, you can.
Oh, this is our newest collection piece at the American Labor Museum. You can borrow it anytime.
And I am woman president. Thank you very much.
So we're going to start our march, and
Anybody else want more flowers? Yeah.